For those who are just joining the room, I'm Molly. I've worked at Figma as a UX writer and after-work zine maker for about a year. And before that, I was a jury foreman, a video store clerk, and an English teacher in New York City. Speaking of New York City, much like any coastal liberal elite, I love the New York Times, and not just the recipe app, you know, I love the whole thing. So I'm absolutely starstruck to introduce the next guests, Chen Wu and Guillermo from the New York Times home and storytelling teams. Yes, huge, huge, huge. Their work as product designers helps people understand the world better. I'm so excited to hear about the digital products they've helped build in Figma, no less, and the chaos and awesomeness they've experienced along the way. Please welcome Chen and Jay to the stage.
Hello, everyone. We're really excited to be here. My name is Guillermo. I'm a senior product designer at the New York Times. I've been at the Times for about 4 years. And I've been working in editorial design from print to digital for the last 20+ years.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chen Wu. I'm a lead product designer at New York Times. I focus on designing for live coverage. I've been at the Times for 2.5 years, and I was a journalist before I transitioned to become a designer. We're so excited to be here. Thank you. Today, we will talk about how the New York Times homepage and live coverage are continuously evolving in response to the non-stop news cycle and big news events. In this talk, we will discuss how we, as product designers at the Times, react and respond to ever-changing newsroom and reader needs, balance speed to market with design quality, collaborate with our cross-functional partners as well as with each other.
So the New York Daily Times, as it was originally called, dates back to 1851. And it officially became the New York Times in 1896. It's one of the most storied and recognizable brands with a rich history of delivering news with a commitment to journalistic integrity and design excellence. One of the incredible things about the brand that I've always appreciated is their commitment to innovation. But commitment to innovation on their own terms. So from the introduction of color to the front page, to the launch of NewYorkTimes.com in 1997, all the way to the mobile app that we all use today. But as a product designer at the New York Times, we constantly ask ourselves, how do you adapt and preserve the integrity of the brand while modernizing it to meet the needs of an ever-growing subscriber base?
So the New York Times mission is to seek the truth and help people understand the world. It might sound a little bit cheesy, but we and most of our coworkers who chose to work for the Times because we do believe in this, and we want to help bring news to all of our readers and make news more accessible. So as we design features, or in moments we have so many decisions to make so fast, we always keep this in mind as our North Star and as our purpose. Also, our publisher didn't ask us to add this.
So at the Times, we all work on a range of products and missions, from data platforms to growth to our sub-brands as audio, cooking, etc. I work under the mission subscriber experiences, specifically on the home team. My team has changed names over the years, from app presentation to design systems to UX foundations to home. But our main focus is always about driving exploration, habituation, and engagement on home. Chen, she works in the storytelling and publishing mission, and she is on the live track, focusing on live coverage, which she'll dive deeper in later in the talk. So at the Times, we all work in different ways and speeds based on our mission. Home is more of a traditional product design process, because our job is really to provide a stable platform for journalists and editors to showcase their report to our over 9 million subscribers in 235 different countries and territories. So it's a very valuable surface to our readers, the newsroom, and the business. It's akin to the front page of the paper. So we really must work in a slower, more methodical pace to ensure that our home system is stable and flexible for the newsroom, while also signaling to the readers what the value is for each article.
Live, on the other hand, is a relatively new team and a way to cover news at the Times. We work really fast-paced due to the nature of live coverage and breaking news events. So we do not work at a traditional product design pace. We do stuff really quickly, iteratively, release them as experiments first, and fully adopt and improve them after. So we do a lot of sketching, testing, evaluating, iterating, and repeat. Some of our work includes designing for live presence on homepage, where we work with Jay's team, balancing the experimental part of the live and home system. Make sure that we can release live experiments on homepage without breaking the system. While we work, the pace we work might be slightly different, and the way we work might be a bit different. We both work very closely with the newsroom. What is newsroom? It includes reporters, editors, visual, photo, video editors, news designers, etc. They produce award-winning journalism across our signature sections, from Washington international news to style and cooking. So we constantly need to meet the needs of readers, newsroom, and business side. For example, the readers want to be able to catch up on the news quickly. Our reporters and editors want to publish news faster and present a wide range of reports. And on the business side, we want to increase the number of subscribers and improve the reader and the subscriber experience. So what did we actually work on? And how do our teams work? Next up, Jay will dive deep into one of the services that I'm sure some of you might be really familiar with, New York Times homepage.
So most of our readers come to experience the New York Times signature journalism through home. And when I say home, I'm speaking about our desktop, mobile web, and our core news app. And the main job of home is really to tell the readers what is that story of today. We really want our readers to feel informed and caught up on all these stories of the day. And when our readers come to home, we really want them to have a strong understanding of what are the most important stories, but we also need them to see and experience the breadth of our coverage. We really want them to help them understand a complicated storyline, allow them to dive deeper on a specific topic. We also need them to understand all the different type of content that the Times has to offer. So the signals must be strong so that readers can make decisions on what to read next. And along with all those principles, we must continue and maintain the design excellence that our users expect from the New York Times. So the New York Times publishes approximately 180 articles a day, which actually could be double based on all the live vehicles and all the other stories that are continuously updated as a specific story unfolds. However, out of those 180 plus articles, the homepage is really only able to promote about 1/3, so roughly 80 stories at one given time. So with those 80 slots available on the homepage, from top stories to opinion to culture and lifestyle and our sub-brands, there are 4 different newsrooms all across the world that continuously program the New York Times homepage 24/7. So because of this, we really make sure that we have a stable home system so that the newsroom is able to decide which stories tell that full story of the day, and the home system must really be able to be flexible to cover a wide range of impactful moments and topics, while also still displaying news judgment and editorial hierarchy. So if we zoom out of the homepage, it's really built out of this headline, summary, and photo. It's a standard story lockup, a basic component, but that one basic component must convey a wide range of topics with visual differentiation to signal to our readers how and why certain stories are different and important. And all the styling on the homepage is really based off our legacy of design and principles that come from the newspaper. So we use the bold type of Cheltenham to signal hard news for storm updates or trial verdicts, and we use italics to show urgency. But we also need to use other fonts like Chelt Extra Light for our non-news and feature stories, such as what happens when a Brooklyn neighborhood polices itself for 5 days, or what's your mustache say about you, or when an eel climbs a ramp to eat squid from a clamp, that's amore. Another major part of our coverage is the opinion section. So with opinion, we really need to make sure that that signal is very strong that these are opinion stories. So we use Chelt Condense. This is so that we can differentiate opinion from our core journalism. We really want to signal to the reader that these stories are not coming from the voice of the New York Times, but they're coming from other writers and outside voices. And so we really want to make sure that that signal is really clear to our readers. For guest essays such as, what would happen if a robot tried to write Law and Order, to does the US government want you to believe in UFOs? So along with signaling through typography, we really need to, these layouts really need to convey what type of coverage it is. So the homepage layouts must show a range of news temperatures through the use of typography, visuals, graphics, and layout. And temperatures was really this way that our team was used so that we could categorize these different types of news stories and also try to help us figure out what types of visual design levers that we could pull to show this range. So in 2019, we started building out this new home system. We were focused mainly on news temperatures number 1 and 2, slow and baseline. So with those two categories, we were really looking ways to differentiate hard news stories from visual journalism to culture and lifestyle features. And this would kind of be the basis and the foundation of the home system. But we weren't really focused on temperature number 3, major news. So we knew that this type of story really needed a different presentation than a standard news story. But in 2019, these types of moments weren't happening nearly as much. So we were really sketching around these specific stories like Notre Dame on fire or if a mass shooting was happening. But newsroom needs follow the unpredictable news cycle. And so when you're working on home, priorities quickly change. And so this is the homepage on March 10th, 2020. It's the day of my 40th birthday. And that day, my team covered my desk in all this trashy candy, and we had a little celebration at the end of the day. And I remember looking to my manager, Narelle, and saying, and talking to my coworker, Nate, and saying, do you think this is really happening? Is coronavirus really in New York City? Is it really this serious? So I chose this day for 2 reasons. 1, it's my birthday. And 2, this is the last time my team was in the office together during the pandemic. So during that time, it was really uncertain times. We were all looking to news organizations to help us inform us on all the latest news and protocols of the COVID pandemic. I remember anxiously checking my phone for updates, not really knowing what to do, but looking to the Times for guidance and information. Every day was a new day. All the news was changing and updating so quickly. And we were asking ourselves, is it okay to walk? Can I go outside? It was really scary and stressful, especially for me being an employee at the Times. I had to read and monitor the New York Times homepage, not only for my job, but also for my family. So I was looking to the Times to get these updates on what it was affecting the world, how it was affecting New York City, but also everyday things like how to keep your distance or how to get a COVID test. Which states had the most infections, which states were ordered to stay home. And also during this time, Chen's team began publishing live briefings, which is this box up here, so that our readers in the world could really get these latest updates of the coronavirus pandemic hour by hour. So again, the Times was covering not only the world news, but and how it was affecting Europe or Asia, and then also the US, but it was also just the everyday things of what TV shows could we watch, or how to stock my pantry. And I remember during that time, I was in a Zoom meeting with my coworkers, and it was right around the time that they were about to announce the stay-at-home order in New York City. And I asked the group, and I unmuted in my meeting, and I was like, did you guys stock up on groceries and toilet paper? And everyone in the meeting said, yeah, of course. Leave now. Go get groceries. So I remember running the grocery store, just grabbing everything off the shelves. And the one funny thing I remember at that time is Rihanna's SOS was playing on the stereo while I was doing this. So one thing I want to focus on today is really this very top part of the homepage. That's called Spotlight. So Spotlight takes up the entire top of the homepage, and it's really there to signal that this is news of historic importance. And that the situation is critical. It needs to provide scope and context of the news while also providing updates and analysis. But one thing you may have noticed is the layout is almost identical every single day. The maps change, the numbers change, the headlines change, the photos change. However, the display of the content on home really didn't change. The layout was pretty static. So Spotlight 1.0 really only had so many ways for our newsroom to tell that story of the day. It had one main story for a large image and then a couple supporting stories. But as you can see, we started seeing that the entire top of the homepage was all about coronavirus and how it affected the world, not just that first package. And another aspect of Spotlight was it wasn't powered by our home system. It was actually just one large, custom-built interactive made to look and feel like the homepage, and it was maintained by the newsroom and the interactive team, which made it really hard to update and change these layouts. So from March to September 2020, the New York Times was in Spotlight 122 out of 214 days. That's 57% of those days we were in Spotlight. We promoted over 1,403 stories during that period. And I want to compare that to 2019, where we only were in Spotlight roughly about 18 times that entire year. So around March 2020, every day we were in Spotlight. And we really knew that the options available to our newsroom really didn't meet our programming ambitions. And with elections 2020 on the horizon, we really knew we needed this new Spotlight system. We needed a new, stable system that was also flexible for the newsroom. Because, coronavirus and elections, these are big, complex, long-running storylines that really require editorial nuance that the current Spotlight really just did not provide. So with this tight collaboration between newsroom and product design, we started working on drafting up these principles for Spotlight. We collaborated remotely in Figma just to dissect different days and storylines, such as COVID, elections, war, natural disasters. But we also were really looking at how the newsroom was currently programming Spotlight for coronavirus coverage. And we wrote all our ideas based on newsroom and reader needs. And through those working sessions, that's how we came to identify what are the principles that Spotlight 2.0 had to meet. So this is kind of what the anatomy of Spotlight 2.0 is. We came up with this modular system of layouts so that editors are able to stack layouts on top of each other to really show what is the most important story, what's the most important packages. So the news editors were able to build out Spotlight, choosing layouts based on their editorial intention, and all these packages were able to be grouped together to really tell this full storyline. So we came up with this concept of the primary package, which is this top part right here. That was really you're only able to program 3 to 4 stories there, but those 3 to 4 stories are the most important stories of the day and that package. And we also came up with this concept of add-ons. So basically, editors are able to just keep adding on different packages below that main primary package. And these are all supplementary stories that are help to the readers to get this full overview of what is currently going on. And so as these large storylines continue, our coverage, our understanding, and the nuance of all the coverage, these little cuts start to emerge. And by breaking these stories into smaller and smaller packages within Spotlight, it helps our readers really understand what is the editorial hierarchy of that page. So September 21, 2020, our team finally releases Spotlight 2.0 to the newsroom. But as the news cycle is always changing, we just weren't in Spotlight for almost a week. So we had this whole new, shiny, new, flexible Spotlight system, but the newsroom and the news cycle really didn't warrant Spotlight. That is until a week later, September 27, 2020, the New York Times publishes a Times exclusive on Trump's taxes. So technically, this insane, huge Times exclusive Trump's taxes story was the official test run of Spotlight 2.0. No big deal, right? Well, luckily, with this new flexible and technically stable system, there were no P1s that day, which is the digital equivalent of stop the presses. So if there were any small bugs during that day, our team was really able to quickly fix and release changes within minutes. And over the last 3 years, Spotlight 2.0 really has been used to cover so many different types of events, whether planned, unplanned, and it's also able to accommodate all different types of media, from photos to vertical videos to data journalism, all displaying them and signaling to the reader that this is really important event or storyline. So one of the ways that we added visual differentiation for Spotlight was we added these 2 new photo sizes, Jumbo and what we called Photo Spot. So Photo Spot is, of course we're not going to be in one right here, but Photo Spot is basically when a giant photo takes up, like this one right here. that takes up the whole visual center of the homepage, and it's similar to like the front page of the newspaper. Another component that of Spotlight is banner. So banners are traditionally used across the top of the newspaper to really get the reader's attention that this is really big news. So they use large typography that goes across the front page, as seen in the examples of Men Walk on Moon to September 11th attacks. And so with banners, for Spotlight 2.0, we really wanted to understand what were the different newsroom needs for banner. We really wanted to give them more nuanced modifications and presentations of banner. So we created a version that emphasized the entire package or emphasized just that first story of the package. However, we soon realized that the newsroom really wasn't using this kind of like editorial nuance that we created for them. We really saw this new need for different temperatures of banners. So we wanted to create new sizes of banner. So as we were getting closer to election 2020, we really knew that the newsroom wanted more flexibility of expression at the top of the page. So we built out banner, banner large, and mega banner into the home system, just so our newsroom really had all the tools that they needed to build this story of the day. So during COVID and election 2020, I really got to see the impact of my work through the lives of our readers. And it kind of all culminated on November 7th, 2020, when the New York Times published the Biden beats Trump banner. So seeing all those screenshots all over social media and seeing all the great journalism and visuals all working together was really kind of a high moment for my career. Also in 2021, the New York Times won the Pulitzer Prize for Public Service for its reporting on the coronavirus. So it was really exciting to know that the home team's work on Spotlight, as well as the live vehicles that Chen's team worked on, was really able to support and present all this Pulitzer Prize-winning coverage to our readers. And another aspect of Spotlight 2.0 is that we were able to really provide this solid, stable platform for our feature teams, so that Chen's team, Live and Storytelling, can create all these new vehicles that can convey updating news stories and test out all these new features to match the speed of news, such as reporter updates, live briefings, and storylines nav. So next up, Chen will talk more about her work with Live and how she collaborates with the newsroom and her other cross-functional partners.
Thanks, Jay.
Oops, sorry.
What is Live? Live is our dynamic coverage of the major news of the day. So it's a story format and a way to cover news where we give readers live updates on a news event as it unfolds. So live coverage has become a really integral part of what Times readers expect when big news breaks. In March 2021, not super long ago, the Times formally formed a live desk newsroom. So they specifically focused on reporting on live coverage. And we, as their design partners, have been working with them to evolve breaking news and live coverage ever since. So our typical news day, you can see we usually have 1, 2, 3 live stories, as the example here. So whenever you see a live label on the homepage, that's a live story. Sometimes we have 5 or more, like the examples here, January 6th hearings, Russia-Ukraine war, US primary elections. I remember that was a big news day and was glad to see that our products were being used for so many breaking stories. Live includes a range of reporting, so updates. For example, World Cup final shootout, who just won Oscars, synthesize, what happened today during the Russian-Ukraine war, or insights, Congress just passed a bill, what does it mean? Or visuals. We have so many amazing photographers and video producers on the ground who brings readers every day the pictures and the videos from the war zone natural disaster areas. So we really want to bring those visuals to our readers, to take them to the scene and understand what is going on there. So we also cover a range of events, from planned events like Super Bowl, State of the Union, to anticipated events like elections, trials reaching a verdict, or the breaking news like Queen Elizabeth's death, shootings, natural disasters. We cover both serious news events or lighthearted ones like sports games, awards shows, Met Gala. And we use different formats to cover live events. So live briefing on the left side. This is the slowest live vehicle and is usually used for relatively slow updated live events, such as Russian-Ukraine war, like the example here, after the initial stage when war just broke out, or the COVID pandemic, and it's ranked by editorial importance, which means that our editors picked and selected which are the most important news about the Russian-Ukraine war that our readers should read today. Live blog in the middle is our most used live format. So it's usually used for fast updating news, such as sports events, shootings, like this wildfire smoke that happened in New York a couple weeks ago. So it's always reverse chronological, which means that we put the latest updates on top to show our readers what has just happened. Live chat, usually used when there's a live stream, provides minute-by-minute reporter live analysis. So it's usually used for events such as State of the Union, like the example here, or if a sheriff is speaking after a shooting. So that's when the reporters will give live commentary to provide the readers with background information and additional context. They are all powered by Live Admin, which is an internal tool that our team also designed and built. So a lot of our work requires evolving the shape of product and genres at the same time, which means that we not only do UX and UI design, we also do a lot of content design. So we help to shape the way how the stories are being presented to the readers. That means that we need to be really flexible and iterative. And we need to understand how the newsroom works, what are challenges and opportunities our reporters and editors are facing, and really work alongside them as they cover the news. One thing that stands out about our team is, so we don't strictly follow the product design process. We roll out features quickly as tests and fully adopt them, improve them after. Sometimes an idea to go from idea to production takes less than 2 weeks. So I want to use an example here. One of our newsroom partners, Sam Manchester, had this idea of showcase people's voice on the ground on the King Coronation Day. So he kind of started to talk to us about this 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before the King Coronation Day. And so we started to sketch and did a range of options, and we discussed with our newsroom partners, give it to engineers, and got it out for the Coronation Day in about 2 weeks. But we always keep in mind long-term visions, how these features can evolve, how it can be used for other news events. So it's never a one-time use. Like the example here, it was later on used for Turkey elections and some other news events. And here's another example. So Visual Grid is a feature that we designed with the goal of bringing readers to the scene. It was originally designed for live blogs, to showcase some environment or what's happening in Afghanistan. And then it was later on used for stories like book reviews to show authors, or elections to show candidates. And then we started to put it on homepage and made it a live photo grid. What it means is the photos will be live updated as they come in. And so we put a little timestamp on it to show the liveness, and it was used for events such as Olympic opening ceremony. We also conduct research and design sprints for long-term visions to figure out things such as what live coverage will be like in the next 5 years, how we can prepare for elections that's coming up next year, how we see the story format evolve, which will guide us as North Star when we design for immediate and short-term needs. So we are able to roll out features quickly by designing and engineering both front-end reader-facing presentation and back-end newsroom-facing tools at the same time, which means that we really need to take both reader needs and reporter and editor needs at the same time. So imagine if we build a product that's really great for our readers, but really hard for reporters and editors to produce, then it won't work, and vice versa. So for example, when reporters are on the ground reporting from war zone, in a courtroom, or in a natural disaster area, they really don't have time to sit down, open their laptop, write a formal blog post on a CMS. So we created this format where they can use their phone to type updates in Slack channel, and every update that starts with live or capital will get sent directly to the spreadsheet. It's our engineer's brilliant idea. And so the editors will copy edit from here, and you can see there's a checkbox. If they check it, it just goes live immediately. So we launched it during the Derek Chauvin trial, and it ended up being the way how reporters broke news on that day, as you can see in the right screenshot here. So we are also able to roll out features and get buy-in quickly by building alignment and having open communications with our stakeholders, editors. So we always make sure that we are aligned on our goals, directions, problem we want to solve, events we are preparing for. I'm sure most of you sitting here have a story or two working with your stakeholders. It really takes time to develop that mutual trust and understanding. So I still remember that there was one time during design review, I was mid-presenting a design to our top New York Times editors, and our managing editor, Mark Lacey, suddenly said, "Hey guys, Queen just died." And all of my stakeholders dropped the call immediately. It was such a shocking news moment, and also just shows you how it's like working in the news environment. So over time, we built this alignment and mutual trust, and editors are really open to experiment and try new things. So I want to give a shout out to my product and design partner, Jordan, Natalie, Taya, and Peter. They played a really important role in getting us there. So I want to use Ping Post as an example here. So Ping Post is a feature we launched in LiveBlog maybe last year. So it was originally designed to have only a few bullet points for readers to be able to catch up before they dive into latest updates. And we launched it, and then we started to notice that it started to host really long articles. Sometimes it hosts 2,000-word articles, like the example here. It's really great journalism, but it takes a long time for readers to scroll through, especially on their phone. So we used the Figma prototype to show our editors how we are using Ping Posts in the real world, how long it takes for readers to scroll through it, to make sure that they understand our concerns and facilitate discussions. Is this a product problem to solve? Should we add some skip thing for readers to skip? Or is this a journalism problem to solve? Should it be a shorter post for readers to catch up? So instead of presenting them with a solution directly, we want to make sure that we are on the same page about the problem first, and we solve it together. We are also able to roll out features I just designed quickly by building trust with our amazing engineers, must call out engineers. So they're always down to drop whatever they're working on and get on an urgent task. They're very open-minded when we have to shift priorities due to news events. When we need to get a feature out quickly, so sometimes we don't really have time to spec out all the pixel details. Sometimes we just send a rough screenshot or rough sketch to our engineers, and we'll just figure out together during VQA. And I really want to say that none of this would be possible without our engineers. So I tried to find ways to sneak their names into this slides. So I want to also talk about this example. So I previously mentioned for the King Charles Coronation Day, we launched this feature. So as you can see here, we give engineers a heads up when we were sketching April 26th. And on April 27th, a week before the event, we had a catch-up where we actually formally handed off design to our engineers. It was mid-spring for them, and they were able to immediately pick it up and make this their top priority and launch the feature for both front-end reader-facing presentations and back-end editorial workflow at the same time, 3 days before the news event. Sometimes when it comes to visual-heavy CSS changes, one of our designers, Peter Rance, often pushes code directly to GitHub and spins up a branch for us to look at, adjust designs directly. So it enables us to move really quickly and free up engineers' time to work on more complicated features. It especially comes handy when the feature needs to get out for an upcoming event or when news is really urgent and breaking. So as you can see here, I took a screenshot of Peter's GitHub contributions. He doesn't code every day because he's a designer, but he pushed most of the code during important news events when we are launching some features, like Russia-Ukraine war, midterm elections, or Met Gala. So of course, because we test and try so many things so quickly, and we do things so quickly, not everything we tested or rolled out proved to be working as expected, and it's okay. So I added 2 examples here on the left side. So this is a feature we call visual mode. We originally launched it for maybe a few days during the Russian-Ukraine war. The goal of it is to tell the stories through the lens of images, as you can see in the example here. But as we actually test run it, it didn't really make sense from a storytelling or editorial perspective. And then on the right side, so this is a feature we launched during Met Gala. The intention was to create this immersive experience that's sort of like Instagram, TikTok-like. But as we actually tried it in real world, we noticed that text overlay introduced accessibility issues. And if we make the shadow darker, it will hurt image integrity. But if we lose the text, we lose the context and the storytelling. So when first time something that didn't work happened, or especially when I just joined, I have this internal freak out that, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. So many people are seeing this every day, and it's not working. And I'm also scared that some random people on Twitter are going to be like, who did this? And tag New York Times. But luckily, our team is really used to trying new things. And even if the test results, sometimes the A/B test is not what we expected, it's a really great opportunity for us to learn and get insights from. And sometimes the things that didn't work are the things that helped us the most to make better products. And I also learned to change my mindset from thinking of the things I designed as my work, my responsibility, to our work, our responsibility. Because when everyone takes ownership of a feature and product, we work more closely together, take responsibility together, make decisions together, and we trust each other more. And it allows us to have more courage to try and not afraid to fail. And when I say our work, it means like engineers, designers, PMs, researchers, data analysts. I hope our talk gives you insights into how we design at the pace of news and how we work together to deliver quality journalism to our readers.
So as we leave you, we think about our 2 different products and 2 different work streams, we really wanted to share with you a couple learnings that guided us through the years. So when your product is news, it's always a little messy. Things are out of your control, which is why it's really important to build a stable foundation that is flexible enough to be used for all instances. Also, being flexible and open-minded as a designer can go a really long way. Everything's a work in progress. Just like the news cycle, or your priorities, or your life, it's always ever-changing, and like Chen said, that's okay.
And we also learn to test, iterate, and repeat. And don't be afraid of failing. So some stuff, like the things on the left side, they might not work, and it's okay. It helps us to learn from it and build things like on the right side that actually worked. And finally, really to build trust with your cross-functional partners and stakeholders. They should be your soundboard and your rock. So here's a list of our soundboard and our rocks. Thanks so much, everyone. We're really honored to be here.